Hi everybody, my biggest apologies for not being around for so long, but now as it's New Year, I have lots of new videos planned, starting with this fantastic Tunisian crochet cabled hat. So in this video, I want to show you how to make this hat, but most of all, I want to show you how to create these wonderful cables. You will find the pattern for this hat free on my blog. The link is in the description below. If you would like to support me, the pattern is also in PDF format, available for a very small fee from my website and Ravelry. The pattern in PDF format also includes a chart. One thing about Tunisian crochet cables, I used my knowledge of knitting to create those cables in a very similar way. Cables create rather tight fabric, so there's not much give onto the fabric. This hat is a beanie hat and it's meant to be worn quite snug. However, if you would like this hat to be wider or longer, then obviously you need to add few more stitches and few more rows into the pattern repeat. And of course, obviously you will need a bit more yarn. So for this hat, you need about 100 grams of Aran weight yarn. And I am using the West Yorkshire Spinners Croft Aran. You will need 5mm Tunisian crochet hook, cable needle, scissors, and tapestry needle. So that's all you need to start. The hat starts from the bottom, so we start from the ribbing and then we move on onto the hat. You will need a pom-pom to attach on top, purely because when we gather the stitches at the end, it creates quite a it's not a very visually pleasing finish, if you know what I mean. So you want a pom-pom to kind of cover the bits. Also, I would like to ask, if you like this video, then please like and subscribe, and let's get started. The hat starts off with the ribbing, which is worked in rows and in standard double crochets, that's US single crochets, into the back loop of every stitch. So start your work with the slip knot and 12 chains. So now we're going to work our first double crochets into the second chain from hook. So one double crochet into the second chain from hook, and then one double crochet into every single chain to end. Okay, so then turn around, so turn your work and chain one to give you the correct height of your stitch, and you're going to work into the back loop of every single stitch. So now you should have 11 stitches, and we're going to work one double crochet into the back loop of every single stitch. Turn, and again chain one and one double crochet into the back loop of every single stitch. So you're going to repeat this until altogether you have 65 rows. So your ribbing has to have 65 rows in total. When you finish, your ribbing should look like this. You see, just a long strip. We will work our hat in rows straight, then we will seam it at the end to form obviously a hat. So now what we're going to do, we're going to pick up 87 stitches into the sides of our rows. So that's 87 stitches evenly. So we obviously going to collect them onto our hook now to start our Tunisian crochet. So we're gonna start with one and leave it only. We already have one loop, obviously, which counts as a stitch, so that's the second one. Then we're gonna do 2, 3. Now you've got 65 rows, so obviously you need to pick up 87 stitches, which is a lot more. So to do this, to pick up 2 stitches from one location, so you see, like here, I'm gonna show you. See, so I'm gonna go to pick up a stitch underneath here, so underneath the 2 strands, you see, 2 strands of my stitch. So underneath the 2 strands here, I'm gonna go here, pick up a stitch, and then I'm gonna go underneath 1 strand. So that way I have increased a stitch into one into the one side of my rows. And again, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So do that until you have 87 stitches evenly spread out along the side of your edging. So when you've got your 87 stitches, all you have to do is your return pass, which is done the standard way. So chain 1 and then yarn around the hook through 2 loops. Oops, yarn around the hook through 2 and through 2 all the way down. Okay, so now that we've done that, we are ready now to work our cable pattern. Before we start our cables, we need to obviously work our setup row. So which means which ones are Tunisian simple stitches, which are Tunisian pearl stitches. Our stitch pattern has 14 row repeat, ending with 1 pearl at the end, and obviously the end stitch and the first stitch. These are not counted into the pattern because they are obviously always stay exactly the same. So the first stitch counts as a stitch already. It's responsible for this very first stitch. So we're gonna start our first pattern repeat with Tunisian pearl stitch. So pearl stitch, and then followed by 6 Tunisian simple stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, then again Tunisian pearl stitch, followed by 6 Tunisian simple stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again pearl stitch, Tunisian pearl stitch, and again 6 Tunisian simple stitches. So work this way until you reach your end stitch, and you end your last repeat with Tunisian pearl stitch into last stitch, and we will work the end stitch together. So let's finish that, and I will see you back here when all the setup rows for our cables. So our row ends with 1 Tunisian pearl stitch into the last stitch, and we're going to work the last stitch as normal, which means going into the front loop and the back loop of the last stitch, yarn around the hook and pull it through. Okay, so our setup rows are done now, and now all we have to do is do a standard return pass as normal all the way down, and our next row will be our first cable row. So our setup row is complete, and you should have 6 14 stitch pattern repeats throughout your hat. Now if you would like to make the hat wider, you will need to increase your stitch count by 14 stitches, which means also you will obviously have to make the ribbing a bit wider as well, so add a few more rows onto ribbing. But now we are ready for our first staggered cable. Your pattern repeat is split with 2 6 stitch panels. So one of the panels holds a cable stitch first, then the second one holds it a lot later down the line. So if I show you here, you see one starts here, so this will be our first panel, the second one is later on. Okay, so let's start with this one first. So for that you will need your cable needle. So this is your cable needle, and we can start our first cable pattern. So our first cable starts on our first 6 Tunisian simple stitches. So we're going to work our Tunisian purl stitch here. And now you've got your 6 Tunisian simple stitches. Grab your cable needle, insert your cable needle under the first 3 stitches. Then move this cable needle to the back of your work with those stitches, you see, so they're lying nicely at the back of your work. Now, Tunisian simple stitch into the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. And then grab your cable needle, move it towards the front. Oh, I lost the yarn. Make sure the yarn is at the back of your cable needle. So move it to the word of the cable needle. And now Tunisian simple stitch into each stitch on your cable needle. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Oops. Place the cable needle down. You see you've got a nice little twist already happening here. So now our next stitch is Tunisian purl stitch. So let's Tunisian purl stitch this. And now we've got in a pattern, the next 6 stages are just Tunisian simple stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then Tunisian purl stitch, and again we have to do our cable. So C6B, which means cable 6 back, which basically means you're going to slip your first 3 stitches onto your cable needle, place it at the back of your work, work 1 Tunisian simple stitch into your next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. And then 1 Tunisian simple stitch into every stitch on the cable needle. And again, make sure that the yarn is kind of at the back of your cable needle. So, and you insert it from front, you see, so nicely for front on your cable needle. Oops, could be a bit tight. 2 and 3. Our next stitch is Tunisian purl stitch. And then our next lot of this repeat is 1 Tunisian simple stitch into the next 6 stitches. So nothing fancy, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, followed by 1 Tunisian purl stitch. Okay, you see, so now we can see our twists here. So repeat the same thing until the end of the row, and then finish it off with the return row as normal. And I see you back here when that is done. So now your cable row is complete. Now you have to do a few rows of just plain rows. So the forward pass is Tunisian purl stitches and Tunisian simple stitches, followed by standard return pass. But what I wanted to show you before you move on, when you're working back on the stitches where you have placed the cables, some of the stitches, so 1, 2, 3, Some of the stitches are hiding in behind, so you need to be very careful to make sure you pick up every single stitch. So 1, 2 and 3, because some of them can be hiding, so make sure that you pick up 6 stitches are all together on in your panel. So now please follow the pattern, placing the cables as instructed, and repeat as many rows as the pattern guides. I don't actually remember how many rows of repeats there were. Do apologize about that. The pattern is free on my blog, links are below, and I will meet you back here when you are ready to decrease. When you finish your repeats, your hat should look like this. If you would like to make the hat a bit more slouchy, then please keep on repeating the pattern repeats, bearing in mind that you will need more yarn, obviously. So now we are ready for our decreases. So first stitch is the purl stitch, as set already, and now we're going to create a decrease. The decrease is simply done by inserting your hook under the 2 vertical bars of your simple stitch and then working them as one. See, so that's your decrease. Then 1 Tunisian simple stitch into the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to do a decrease as well. So again, insert your hook under the 2 vertical bars of your simple stitches and work them as one. Then we come to our purl stitch, which we will work as normal, and then again decrease, work 2 simple stitches and decrease again, followed by a Tunisian purl stitch. So in our 6 simple stitches, we decrease at the beginning and the end, working the 2 stitches in the middle as normal. Okay, so continue doing this all the way until your row is complete, and then work your return pass as normal. So we're going to work 1 more row of decreases. So purl stitch in the purl stitch, then decrease and decrease, followed by a purl stitch. So when there are purl stitches, we work the Tunisian purl stitch as normal, then decrease 2 in our simple stitches. So do that all the way down, followed by obviously a return pass. After that, we are ready for our final row of decreasing, but this time we will not work a return pass. So this time just simply go 2 stitches all the way along. So decrease by going under vertical bars of next 2 stitches and work them as one. You've got 1 stitch at the end, so just work the 1 stitch normally and the end stitch. Oh, that's not right. There we go. Cut off a good length of your yarn, because that will be used to sew up your hat as well. Grab your tapestry needle and feed the yarn through all those loops on your hook. Here we go. Now pull on really tight to close up all this opening at the top, and then go around it, this opening again. Oops. Go around again with your needle just to make it a bit more secure. do one more time, purely because I like it to be a bit stronger. I don't want it to unravel or anything. And now we are ready to sew up our hat. What I usually sew up, I would sew it up as I would do a knitting one, so with mattress stitch. So go in between the stitch, oops, sorry, a bit of fluff. Ooh. And then again on the other side the same. Yeah, so I'm not going into the stitch right on the edge. I'm going one stitch in. Because if you go into the stitch right on the edge, it will give you a rather messy finish. Well, not always, I suppose, but I'm not. I always find that going one stitch in gives you a little bit neater finish, to be fair, instead of going right on the stitch on the edge. Okay, so work this all the way until your heart is sewn up. See, that gives you quite a neat finish here, which I think is lovely. So when you finish your sewing up and weaving in your ends, I would suggest you wet block your hat to loosen up the cables a little bit. Cables pull in your work, so they create a bit tighter work because obviously of all the twist. And your hat may appear to be a little bit tight. So wet block it to loosen it up a little bit. Obviously this hat is a beanie, so it's meant to fit quite snugly on your head. If you would like the hat to be a bit longer or wider, then you need to add stitches and rows. Okay, but if you would like a beanie, then this is the perfect hat. And now you can attach your pom-pom, and voila, your hat is complete. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this video. Again, the pattern is free on my blog, which the link is in the description box. However, if you would like to support me, the pattern is also available in PDF format with a chart, which you can find on my website for a very small fee. Please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. See you soon.